My initial thoughts about water power was that it is a very niche, very closed market, available only to select EPCs and, of course, large electric utilities. I was wrong. So, joining me now to talk about the error in my thinking is Paul Norris, president of the Ontario Waterpower Association. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks very much for having me today, Anthony.
Now, Paul, many of us will have heard of Adam Beck in Niagara Falls, Site C, British Columbia, Muskrat Falls, Newfoundland and Labrador, all large-scale hydropower projects. So tell me, what constitutes small scale?
Yeah, the general definition accepted in most jurisdictions is anything under 10 megawatts in installed capacity would qualify as small hydro. There are various definitions, but that's the most standardly accepted one.
And who's executing these small scale projects?
Well, in Ontario, which is really kind of been a hotbed of small hydro for decades, actually, a pretty wide range of companies and organizations involved in small hydro. So if you think back to the kind of the settlement of the province, many municipalities were actually created in and around rivers and by definition, small hydro opportunities. So and in the north, the original kind of industrial revolutions. So think of forest companies and mining companies, for example, that actually located their facilities close to where there were opportunities for hydro. And increasingly over the last number of years, new partners with the private sector in particular have been our Indigenous communities. So a pretty wide spectrum of organizations involved in this industry in this province.
So essentially, what you're saying is the province was built on hydroelectricity, and now hydropower has been providing emissions-free electricity since kind of the dawn of electricity. Is it getting its fair due these days? Is it just as important as it was 100 years ago?
Well, it's good you point that out. It is often the forgotten renewable. We have 3 dozen hydro assets in this province that have been providing electricity for more than a century. We've gone through a significant change in our electricity supply in this province over the last decade. We phased out coal. We added new forms of non-hydro renewables. And so hydro's actually become more important than it ever has been in the past. And that's largely because of the flexibility that hydro provides.
What kinds of opportunities then for small scale hydropower are available in the province of Ontario, and where are they located?
Yeah, and another good question. So I think of kind of three buckets of small scale hydro, and then I'll talk a little bit about storage. So the first is our existing assets. We have 225 operating hydro assets in the province of Ontario. Many have been providing renewable, reliable electricity for decades. There are opportunities to optimize those assets and to, in some instances, get incremental capacity from that existing fleet. The second opportunity is the infrastructure that we have in this province that doesn't produce hydro. The third that I talk about a lot is what's happening in our far north. And those are opportunities that are primarily led by Indigenous communities or Indigenous communities in partnership with the private sector. We have 23 communities in this province, remote First Nation communities, who aren't yet connected to the electricity grid. There is a huge initiative underway to rectify that situation, led by a First Nations consortium called Hydropower Power. And we did some analysis and found that 21 out of those 23 communities to be connected had small hydro in their backyard. The one that I'll touch on that, maybe not in the bucket of small hydro is pump storage. Pump storage, again, has been around for 100 years. There are significant opportunities to expand that in Ontario. So that'd be the fourth bucket I see in terms of opportunities.
Interesting. So it's by no means static, by no means resting on its laurels. I had I had no idea there could be and is so much activity around this generation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a vibrant industry in the province of Ontario. It's an industry who has proven time and time again its ability to innovate and adopt and adjust. And so, yeah, we have a bright future in the province in hydro.
Well, and now speaking of bright futures and getting involved in learning more about this, the Ontario Waterpower Association is presenting its annual summit. Normally would have been in person, but is presenting its annual summit in a virtual environment, September 15th and 16th, which, because it's virtual, just about anyone anywhere could attend. what kinds of people should attend, and what would be some of the takeaways?
We have a broad spectrum of folks who come and listen to, learn from, participate in our sessions. We will be focused on lessons learned through the pandemic. We'll have a really good conversation about what it looks like to build back better. How do we restart the economy in Ontario? What the role of hydro is. And so really there is a good opportunity for anybody who's interested to come in, sit in on, and participate in our event.
Very good. Thanks for taking the time to inform and educate me and the audience, Paul.
Well, thanks for your interest. We'll talk soon.